Welcome everyone to the Recovery Capital podcast. My name is Joanna Dolan. I'm a person in recovery, and I'm also a recovery coach and a recovery coach trainer and some other cool things. But before we get started, let me go ahead and share with you what Recovery Capital is. Recovery Capital is the internal and the external resources that we develop that help us to obtain, maintain, and sustain recovery. And I'm really excited about our guests for today. I've been stalking them for a couple of months. But before I have them introduce themselves, Amy, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Amy DiPietro. I am a person in recovery and co-host of this podcast. And I echo Joanna's sentiment. I'm super excited about our guests today. They're super dull, very introverted people. So you're not going to get a whole lot of energy from them at all. So your volume up really loud. They're a bit of a whisper for anybody listening. And I'm excited to hear them introduce themselves.
So
I would like to introduce himself first.
Okay, I'm going first. I'm the oldest.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, age before beauty. So I'm Naetha. I am a woman with my very own custom personal recovery journey. I am also the mama of a family in recovery. I am the glue to 4 generations under one roof. It is controlled chaos, but we are an imperfectly perfect family in recovery.
There you go.
And this is my daughter.
And my name is Calliese. I am the controlled chaos that lives in the house of 4 generations under one roof. I also have my own personal recovery journey, and
Yes,
let's keep it simple.
we're good.
I love it. So for those of you guys that aren't watching but are listening, they have grins from ear to ear. And the cool thing is that they are very. What'd you say?
Including us.
Yeah, we do too. And they are our very first international guests. So congratulations.
High five.
We made it, Mom.
Do we get a trophy?
We made it, Mom.
We made it. Trust me.
We made it. That's so awesome.
Love that. Thank you
Do
for
we have a
that.
shirt that says first international guest?
Yeah, you should. We should
Yeah,
totally
you
get
absolutely should.
I'll get a
Yes.
Sharpie
Yeah.
and write it on a t-shirt and send it.
Yes.
That's just our style.
Yeah.
We're swapping shirts. Do me a favor. When I spent time over in London several years ago, I need a new shirt that says Mind the Gap.
Okay, we can accommodate that.
Love the Mind the Gap shirts. I think the best thing I saw was a pair of underwear that said that. And after like 3 weeks after I saw that, underwear that just said Mind the Gap, and I died.
Oh, that made me think of lots of things when you said mind the gap, because we see a lot of gaps in different things here about, no, don't be thinking like that.
I wasn't assuming you were talking about anything.
You had that look on your face.
Not at all.
These people
No.
are
I did. I did that freely.
Yeah, because we often say we recovery coaches bridge the gap, and
Yeah.
especially in England. And sometimes you got to mind the gap.
Yeah, you do.
do.
That's very true.
Yeah. Watch
That
out
was
for
just
it.
like really deep.
But it was good, though. That was an excellent
really
play
good.
of words.
You should totally make shirts
From the
like
London
that.
Underground to recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That.
absolutely.
Well, we
Yeah, you should
should
totally make those shirts.
ask them to give a little bit of background about what it is that they do.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
Tell us.
Oh,
Do you mind to tell us?
no.
Wait, should we tell them how it started?
In the middle of COVID, in the middle of craziness.
The story, Mom, outside. Okay, so we had been attending a lot of C-card training because due to COVID, we got the opportunity to attend the trainings virtually. And Mom and I were like, yes, we recovery coaching aligns with everything we do. I was currently off sick from work. It was not a very healthy work relationship. And she was like, it was one morning, she woke up and she's in the yard and I wake up. She looks at me and she says, Calliese, I think I'm going to apply for a job. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? Like, you're not applying for a job. And she's like, yes, like I can. I said, Mom, we're starting recovery coaching here. Like, do not get a job. And she's like, Liz, I don't know if we can do all of this, you know? And I said, listen, give me 30 days. Give me 30 days. Like, we are going to get this up and going. And ever since then, we've been going.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is that? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I was delivering peer recovery coaching without sort of the CCAR accreditation and the Naetha accreditation through workshops within drug services.
And I was a recovery worker at a drug service, but I was like,
Yeah.
this is not aligning with me, you
Yeah.
know, like, but whenever we found recovery coaching, it was like, okay, okay.
And it is. I mean, it's like I've mentioned, I said recovery coaching is like where my business skills and all the stuff I'd accumulated in that life experience of the professional world, I could combine with my recovery experience and that lived experience. And it was like, I say, it's like where the business head met the people heart and just fireworks exploded.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, this is where I can make an impact. And then just like we said, you know, people don't talk about family recovery much. So for us to be a voice of a family in recovery and say that out loud and provide hope, I just thought this is the reason why we're here together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she took over social media for 30 days and we just got stuck in COVID. And yeah, we called CCAR and said, can we do this? And they said, Phil Valentine in his mystical wisdom words said, I believe in you. And if you build it, they will come.
And they keep coming.
And so that's where we are today. We became the first recovery coach professionals in the UK.
Yeah.
First authorized CCAR facilitator trainers in the UK. Yeah, and we're just keep on going from strength to strength. And we have met such amazing people who keep.
And a little our community.
Yeah.
Our little recovery
We're
coaching
about
community.
to hit 100 people almost. Oh, I think next month we'll hit 100 people doing RCA this year with us in the UK.
And that's since we started in November.
Yeah.
So
Just 2020.
yeah.
Wow.
And that's just been all organic, just us having recovery ready conversations. You know, and that's challenging at times in the UK because people don't know what recovery coaching is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, actually, just about like, because both of you have spent time in the UK, you've spent time in the US, and I'm not sure where else you've been, where the subject matter of recovery has been at the forefront. What has been, not necessarily comparing one to the other, but what is the experience? What do you see in the UK right now as it pertains to pathways to recovery?
So I guess if we did this two ways. So from a mother in recovery with a family, what I saw in Texas and the States was 18 months before Calliese found recovery, I was there trying to help, you know, with her son and my mom and everything, because my mom fell and broke both arms at the same time, like a lovely 70-year-old does. And I just got immersed, or not really immersed. Somebody picked me up and plunked me into a recovery community and said, you need to talk to the people here. There are other parents like you. And so through that, I was introduced to mutual aid meetings for families. Then I was introduced to advocacy and recovery messaging for families. And then somebody said, I bought you a gift. You need to sign up to take this recovery coaching course because this is what you should be doing. You just don't know it yet. Yeah. You know, and so kind of all of a sudden I was going to recovery roller skating, recovery rollers. It was like recovery barbecues. And it wasn't just one group, one mutual aid. It was many coming together to celebrate recovery. And that is what is different. In the UK, everything feels very divided. I'm sure Calliese can tell you about her experience with going to 2 mutual aid meetings in the same building, you know. So when I went to my first mutual aid meeting in England for families, there were 3 people there, and they told me they've been the same 3 people for 2 years.
Wow.
You know, the last kind of mutual aid meeting I went to in America had over 70. You know,
when you're using the terminology mutual aid,
yeah,
that's basically what we would refer to as community support, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's mixture of grandparents raising grandkids, 12-step fellowships, support for families, just all of that in a peer-based environment. And so just people did not know. We had a recovery coach, for our family, and people looked at them like I was crazy. When I first said to somebody I was a recovery coach, they asked me if my job was recovering the coaches off the side of the motorway that broke down, like the ones that take
The big bus.
Yeah, the big buses. They thought I was a recovery coach.
Yeah, sure.
Coaches. So, when you in America, when you go into a conversation and you talk about recovery and recovery coaches,
I know.
Yeah. So kind of when you go to a conversation and you talk about recovery coaches, people know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. We have to really step that conversation back like 12 steps.
It's actually like we've been told that the UK is behind the US at least 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Okay, I don't get it. Yeah. So can you explain that to me? Like,
right. So please tell them about your experience. So Calliese arrived in England 97 days, fresh out of rehab. She'd been in
fresh meat, literally fresh.
97
fresh off the boat.
97 days in rehab, 10 days at Nana's, put on a plane. Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
Yay, Nana. We love Nana.
I love my Nana. I came to England and whenever I was in Texas, you go to rehab, you go to sober living, you go to, IOP, intensive outpatient, there's just all of these steps for recovery. So whenever I moved to England, I was actually looking for a sober living or an intensive outpatient program. I was looking for stuff like that. Couldn't find anything, nothing. And then, so I looked up, support, and everything that came up was drug services. So I'm like, okay.
What's a drug service?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
So I go to a drug service because they said they had all these groups they provided, support, harm reduction, etc. So I go, and she said, I can't support you. She said, we can't offer you any help. You can go out and use again, and we can put you on a 12-week program, but that's all that we can do. You're getting more support in America than we can offer. So England, the drug services, the drug policy in the UK was based on like reducing crime. So it was all about methadone, harm reduction, etc. Mm-hmm. And so somebody who was already in recovery, could not access support anywhere. I could not find any support anywhere. And I was like, so I had to build my own recovery capital, like you talk about recovery capital. I actually ended up just looking up little college activities, and I ended up traveling to there was this college, and it would let me go to it, stay at it, and do art activities and music. And I had to really venture out to find resources to build my recovery capital because I couldn't get help from anywhere. And then even mutual aid meetings. So, it's common in England to take a bus. I don't drive in England because I'm scared. Let's be honest, I'm scared.
Let's not talk about our driving history.
Well, yeah. That's only in Texas, okay? It doesn't show up on my record here in the UK, so it's all good.
Thank God.
My record's clear here.
Bopping her head and everything.
So I'd look for mutual aid meetings, and it was I had to ride the bus for an hour to get to a mutual aid meeting from our house, and then an hour back home. So it's I'd go to a meeting and not get home till 10 o'clock at night. Mm. And then even I went to a meeting once, and there was a Narcotics Anonymous meeting in the building, and there was a Cocaine Anonymous meeting in the building. And I walked to the door, and the guy looks at me and he says, oh, you must be part of the non-applicable club. And I just was like, listen here, buddy. Everybody has different pathways of recovery. I'm so glad you found recovery, but please do not judge other people on how they find their recovery, because to each their own. But that's the way it is here. It's clubs. It's so divided, and I can't. Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Wow.
I tried to fit into the box and take a job in drug services, and when I started talking about recovery messaging and advocacy and sharing our story to inspire hope, I literally got challenged so much. I got told I was going to make people relapse by telling them to break their anonymity. And I said, I'm not telling them to break their anonymity.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got told, just get back in your box. You're too American. That will not work here.
And I got told the same stuff. I mean, like I said, I worked for a drug service because that was the only thing I could do to support people in recovery. Literally, that's the only job you can do to support people in recovery in the UK. And so I did that, and I like started as a volunteer. I worked myself up within like, you know, to another position. And then whenever COVID happened, I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like it was just like mentally destroying me. I was going into a depression, and my anxiety was because I was off sick for months. I was like, it really destroyed me, the way that the staff treated me, the way that it was toxic. And then like, but we found like CCAR at that time, and I was like, this is like my lifesaver. Like this is what's gonna save me, because I was coming to a dead end, and I was like, I don't have any options. What am I gonna do?
And I think when I reflect back on the time, what's really interesting is I very much had to kind of stop worrying about a lot of things. When my daughter and grandson came to live with us in England, it was overwhelming. And I just kind of had
to have. What do you mean? We're like walking in a park, Mom. It's all quiet.
Yeah, no way. And I mean, if I'd have sat in that worry, I probably would have gone insane. I just had to have faith that I was doing the right thing every day and it would work out, you know. And the thought of, in England, we were in lockdown, locked in our house pretty much without essential going out for 17 months. Because we had my mom living with us and she was high risk and we were shielding.
Yeah. Wow.
17 months, 5 of us, no school, homeschooling on top of all that, you know. But when kind of we started doing all the recovery coach training and met with Phil and started having conversations, looking back on that in hindsight, I swear that saved us as a family.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had then all of a sudden we were having really healthy conversations. Calliese and I were sitting at the course practicing our training and practicing delivery on Zoom around the house. And I just think if we hadn't have had that to fill that space, I could be really concerned about where we are or where Calliese was, you know, because I saw it deteriorate. I saw the mental health drop. I saw the signs as a mom. And just, I really think, you know, CCAR training and then that engagement with that community and that passion to do something that we believed in just saved our family.
I think, you know, we always say too, like we have a CCAR family. Like we've met so many connections and we have like that. It's just beautiful.
I remember sitting on the bed and we were practicing training, you know, as you do when you're a professional, got to practice, you know, and we had Nana, the dog, Calliese and the grandson lined up along the bed, you know, and I'm having my go. And I thought, this is really good. Nana's even taking notes, you know, she had a little and they tallied up how many times I said, during the training. So I said, did you get the content? Well, no, but I know you need to stop saying,
Dude, that is awesome. I can see my mom doing that too.
Yes.
She would have done the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a journey. And I mean, there's no plan. It's like we said, this has been a recovery coaching roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And some days we are flying by the seat of our pants and winging it. And that's reality. That's being honest, you know, because it is like Megan says to us, this is the Wild West. We are on a new frontier. you know, we are riding out there. But some days it's great and we're in for the ride. And some days it's really scary and you just want to jump off that roller coaster ride.
I think too, like, you know, it is, I think we have a lot of discussions because we get challenged all the time. We continuously challenged, questioned, drilled. And it's a lot. Like,
so I guess kind of people kind of see recovery coaching and they go, oh, I like that. That's me. But then they've been indoctrinated, I guess, into this way of I have to be an internationally ICF coach. I have to be accredited. I have to meet CQC clinical standards to be a provider. And I've really thought about this a lot lately. And I think, you know, gosh, how many people are stuck in that box that feel they have to meet all those other people's needs and organizational needs when actually that is stopping them from sharing just some fabulous lived experience and skills that don't fit a tick box.
Well, I'm so glad you said that. You know, so many things that went through my mind. One of the things that's going through my mind is I can remember what it was like when when we would get looked at the same way, right? Like, you can't talk about your recovery because if you relapse, then it looks bad. And it's like, I get that. And if I don't talk about my recovery, then I will forever be a freak.
Yeah.
Because I have been sober longer than I was using.
Mhm.
You know, like when I had that realization, you know, which it sounds like you guys got it like
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible to me. And also the other thing that I'm thinking about is like, you're so right. I mean, the only reason ICF is like the standard for coaching is because they had this vision and this dream, and they were like, let's make it really happen. And they had to create a business model around. You know, same thing with counselors and all and other people, you know, like that's the whole reason that we have these certifications, because some people that have certifications, like they can't find their way out of a paper bag. You know, but people that are like really devoted to doing the work, you know, that are passionate about it, have purpose with it, you know, like that's, I really like, I'm saying all that to say, like, yes, we need more of that. I'm so glad that you guys are like following that path.
Yeah, it's like it's like somebody said today, it's getting comfortable working in the gray area.
Learn to love the gray.
You know,
learn to love
I don't
the gray.
fit into an ICF box.
No.
I don't fit into a sponsor box necessarily. I don't fit there. I am uniquely, amazingly me. But in the same line of recovery coaching, I am insignificant in the global recovery world.
Yeah.
But I am uniquely and amazingly me.
It's like I tell
we're
Mom,
a unique family.
I say, nobody puts baby in the corner, Mom. Don't worry. I got you.
Somebody challenges me and she's like, Mom, don't worry. I got your back. I got your back. Nobody's going to put you in a corner. Come on out.
Love it. So is that how you guys are like doing this? Like,
What?
is that, I mean, like, I'm thinking living in the gray. Like, is that how you guys are able to get used to the gray?
I think it's just, it was really uncomfortable at first.
Yeah.
And I think it's also going back to that recovery thing. It's about confidence with humility. Okay. Yes. So I am humble about my life. I know I am not perfect. Life is good. I don't want to challenge everything, but I am confident in recovery coaching.
Yes.
You know, I know recovery coaching is, can I swear?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Fucking fantastic. You know, recovery coaching can change people's lives. It can change families. It can change companies. It can change England. It can change countries. Okay. Recovery coaching is fucking amazing. And I had to get really confident to say, if you're looking for something that fits in that box of certification,
That's right.
I really hope you find it, but I don't provide that.
And we say too, we're not everybody's cup of tea, but we're somebody's.
Yep.
You know. And that's it too. It's like the people, we don't have to go chase people to try to tell them about recovery coaching. They're coming to us because they want to talk about recovery coaching. They want to learn about it. They're curious.
Yeah. And that's amazing to us. The fact that, you know, I know other people who are like maybe accredited by nationally recognized organizations who are spending a load of money on Facebook ads for minimal customers. I'm not.
We haven't spent a dime on ads, on marketing, on nothing. We haven't put any money into promoting.
What we
ourselves.
have done is, I think we have not taken a paycheck till this month. Okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's only a little one. Don't make her
I
think
get a coffee. Calm down, y'all. Like Starbucks is going up. You know.
But when
Totally
you believe in
understand that,
something, you know, when you believe in something, and I believe that the payoff will come. And I'm not talking about, I don't want to be a millionaire.
No.
Right.
But as long as I can pay my bills,
Keep the lights on.
go on a holiday eventually if we're ever allowed to travel again. Come
Forever.
Come visit y'all in America.
We're saving up our holiday for 2030.
You know, trip to Connecticut. Woohoo! That's the hotspot destination now.
Joanna and I are already coming. I mean,
well, come on, y'all can fly. We can't. We're not allowed to.
That's absolutely gonna happen.
I don't know if I'm ready for flying though, because you know the Delta variant is kind of scary to me.
I know it's happening here. Yeah. But I think, you know, we didn't take a paycheck. We were in a really who would have ever thought arriving back in England with my daughter and my grandson, no jobs for me and my husband.
Wait,
all
wait,
of our
can we
stuff
just
is-
mention that we moved 3 times since we've lived in England?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
on top of
you
all
did
of
not.
that.
No.
Like, we've moved 3 times since we've lived in England.
So
On top of that.
yeah, so when we came back, we had enough money that we could pay a year's rent.
Well, first we stayed with mom's friends.
Yeah.
So
And then because we didn't have jobs, we'd just come back. We had enough money to pay for a year's rent, right? So we just found a house to give Calliese and my grandson stability and a home. And then we went off and got jobs and then my mom decided she was lonely in Texas because I'm an only child. So Nana got on a plane with the 80-pound black Labrador dog, and the ticket to fly the dog was probably the equivalent of 2 first-class British Airways flights.
Yep.
Because we had to pay everything to avoid quarantine, because Nana needed the dog.
yeah.
And then Nana, once Nana was stable, she sold her house in Texas. We bought a house, and just like I said, things work out. We didn't know how. We just had faith. Bought a really crappy house, gutted it, fixed it up. COVID happened. We sold it and made about 1/3 of the house value that we bought it in profit. And so then we took that and my mom's house and we bought a bigger house. So we now have a house that probably should be classified as a small housing association.
Yeah, because
it's kind of like Nana has her own little bedsit flat we built. Calliese has the second floor on the left side of the house with a bedroom, a living room, and a bathroom. And then on the other side of the house, we have 2 more bedrooms for me and my hubby and the grandson. And, we have space. If you'd have told me we would be in a position when we got on that plane from Texas,
no.
absolutely
I
scared.
would have been
shitless
like,
of nothing.
hell no.
No.
Like,
but
no.
because we had that security of a home, we didn't need to take a paycheck.
Yeah.
And so of the money we have made, we did the books the other day, of the money we have made, we have given away 100% the equal amount in free community support and education.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
phenomenal.
So
Yeah.
that's how we have built this, by doing the right thing,
Yeah.
with respect, integrity, gratitude, honesty, transparency. And so, yes, we are hopefully going to get a paycheck that pays for 5 coffees this month.
Whoa. Calm down, Mom. Big baller.
Yeah, don't jump
Ball
the gun.
over here.
Don't go crazy on us. That is like that. I don't know. Where do we start? That's incredible. And makes my heart so happy to know that, because it's been my experience as well, right? Completely different story from your own, but it has been my experience that when I just try to move my feet, do something as close to the next right thing that I think it is at the time, shit works out. It's pretty wild. And I love seeing that happen over and over and over. That's the good stuff. You know what I mean? That's the amazing stuff that happens when we give ourselves the opportunity to be in recovery. I got like full body chills while you guys were talking.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
You said you're not in this to be a millionaire. Me neither. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm looking for. Because honestly, I wouldn't know how to judge it. I wouldn't know how to put a number on it.
Yeah. And it's been difficult because recovery coaching is so new here, and we just want to share it. We want people to get it, to feel it, to know it, to
Like
learn
the
it.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. It's a bit like MasterCard. Priceless. But we do have to pay bills. And so for me, it was about me just committing that I was going to do everything we could. And Calliese too, she sacrificed. We were going to do everything we could to give this our best shot.
I think too, we've learned so much along the way. Like, gosh, everything.
Everything from social media. to figuring out how to
Zoom, virtual dance, like just
yeah, and it's good. I mean, gosh, to learn this much during lockdown and start a business and do all of this, it's just, when lockdown started in England, I had so many friends say to me, oh my God, Naetha, you are flipping crazy. You have got your whole family living with you. You are nuts. After we'd been in lockdown a year, those same friends were saying to me, I haven't seen my mom or my grandson for over a year. God, you're lucky.
Oh.
I'm with their friends.
Yeah, and so it is about perspective, and it is, lots of people thought I was insane doing it.
I mean, we still question it sometimes, but
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I probably am a little bit insane to do it.
Well, she talks about my certificate to prove I'm not crazy. We're still waiting on it.
She told me when she left rehab, she was getting a certificate
Nice, Calliese.
that said she wasn't crazy. We are now almost 4 years, and it has been lost in the post.
Yeah.
Well, the postal system over here isn't the best.
Are you justifying and rationalizing for my daughter's crazy certificate, Andy?
Absolutely. From one alcoholic or addict to another, I went the best I can.
It's on its way, Mom. It's on its way.
Yeah.
It's in the works. It's in the works.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Can I ask a little bit on a personal touch?
Yeah.
Calliese, what was your journey like into recovery? What's the catalyst for you?
So I started drinking and like smoking at a very young age, and then I went to college, and I went to like the #1 party school in Texas. in college.
Which school is that?
I went to Stephen Boston State University. So it's like rated and that was my intention, but I kind of got pregnant by a drug dealer,
Great
kind of
a
got,
keeper.
you either
Love
are
that.
or you're not.
I got a little bit pregnant.
Yeah, those freshman welcome partings were great.
Yeah. So, and then it just all kind of like kept going downhill. I was abused. Like my dad was mentally and physically abusive growing up. My stepmom was the same way. My dad's an alcoholic. It was a very rocky road growing up. And then I've always been like looking for attention. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to fit in. All of that. And then whenever I had my son, I was like, I'm going to move to Dallas and start over. And then I was doing well, but I was using and bartending and working 2 jobs to try to handle all of this. And it just got really crazy, really fast. I ended up staying with my Nana. And then the deal was I stay with my Nana, and then she said it was the worst thing I've ever heard. But my Nana said I made her feel uncomfortable in her own home. And she was like, you can't stay here anymore. And it was like, okay. Yeah, Nana.
That's a tough one.
Nana. Like I love my Nana, right?
I know.
And so the deal was, okay, she's going to take care of my son while I try to go to Dallas and get my pieces put together. That did not work out. So my Nana ended up taking care of my son. I went to Dallas, went right back on the crazy train, and I got beat up really badly. I was in a domestic violence relationship, and it was really bad. But while this was happening, I'd already like overdosed. I'd already been in and out of rehab a couple times. I tried all these different things. I got 2 DWIs, drug charges. It was all crazy. And then whenever that happened, literally Mom was in Texas at that time. And I remember like the next day I got beaten up and I got robbed. Everything was broken. I couldn't work. Like I was working at a coffee shop at the time, and I was bartending, and
I was in Texas at that time.
Yeah, said Mom was in Texas at the time. But like, no, they wouldn't let me work because nobody wants to see a beaten up bartender. Nobody wants to see a beaten up barista, so I couldn't work. And I remember the next day I was like, I think this is something you tell your mom. Like, I feel like I should tell my mom that this has happened. So how do you tell your mom? You send her a picture through Facebook Messenger, right?
Oh,
so I just sent her a picture. I was like, hey Mom, this happened. And then she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, I'm coming to Dallas to pick you up. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Everything's great.
Right.
And then she showed up and she took me to Houston, I ended up going to the hospital and getting taken care of. But then it got to the point where they were like, you can't stay here. Like, you can't stay at your Nana's house. You've already burned all those bridges. So I had to stay at a shelter. And then I remember her coming to the shelter and she said, look, let's go to lunch. And she was like, look, you got 2 options. Like, you can either choose to do what you want to do and go off, or you can go get some help. And this is the last time, but I can't keep doing this over and over again. So I got a scholarship to go to a rehab. And then while I was in rehab, I was originally supposed to stay for 30 days. And then they let me stay for 90. And while Mom was in Texas, we started to do a lot of work while I was in rehab. And then I was looking for a plan afterwards. And at first I was like, I'm going to go to sober living, you know, something. But then Mom was like, I'm taking your son with me to England. And I'm like, oh, hell no. You know, like, you're not taking my son to England. So then it was like, okay, like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do. So she was like, look, like, we're happy to bring you and we will support you. You will be in a family environment that can take care of you, and it'll be something new. You know, you'll get a fresh start.
No drug charges, no DWI record.
That was a really big plus. Like,
that's a selling feature for sure.
Like, I got a clean record over here. I'm trying to keep it that way. And so I was like, okay, let's do it. So what I packed up 2 suitcases and got on a plane. And that's been like, and then moved here, and it's been cray ever since.
And I love you.
Your mom gave you like the most amazing gift.
I know people say that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like,
She
I am the gift to her.
She tells me she's my gift, and I'm just troubled.
It really has, like, that's the most, because I'm sure, and I honestly, like, I'm always saying this because our stories actually, police are very similar. And my mom had the same talk with me after years and years and years of, you know, getting sober, going back, you know, just over and over and over again until she'd had enough. I cannot even fathom what it takes for a parent to say to their child, I love you so much that I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
Can't keep enabling your shit.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's
my
really,
mom did.
yeah. There was a point.
In my life.
Yeah.
I was so angry and hurt for so long because I didn't understand. I didn't see it that way. You know, you saw a perception or perspective earlier, and I guess I was just so self-centered, as we often are, and so self-focused that I couldn't see that what she had done by drawing that line in the sand, setting that boundary with me, is that she was enduring the worst pain. You know, here I am, woe is me. Truth be told, this woman was ready to set me down. That's how much, you know, she loved me. And you just, it took me a long time to see that. And now that I do, without question, it is the greatest gift I've ever been given.
I mean, now that, like, you know, and I completely understand it. I think I've said to Mom, like, why didn't you do it earlier? You know, but like,
because I had to build my own recovery capital.
Well, that's like something Mom says. It's like, 'cause I had a difficult situation. My sister who's in Texas was struggling, and you know, I'm calling the jail from England. I'm dealing with all of this pain because I'm across the country and I cannot do anything, and I'm trying to, and I remember I broke down and I was like, Mom, I feel like this is like karma. Like, I'm feeling stuff. I know the situation's not completely the same, but like, and she said, Calliese, like, you have to set boundaries. You know, you can love her from a distance. And she was like, you need to go to like a family support meeting. You know, you need to reach out for family support. But something Mom said to me, which I'll never forget, is like, she said I could not set healthy boundaries until I was able to accept the consequences of that.
Yeah.
Which means it could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
You know.
So I often, you know, people often say to me, how could you take your daughter to a shelter? And it was like, when we picked her up from Dallas and she'd been beaten up, the right thing to do was to nurse her. You know, I watched the finger marks of a man show up on her neck over days. Purple, blue, yellow, I watched, and I nursed her back to health. But when she was healthy And she got that little glint in her eye that said, I want to go get high. Oh, that rhymed. Poet and didn't know it. You know, I just knew it was time, you know, and so for 18 months, I'd been going back and forth and staying and helping my mom raise her son. And during that time, I got involved with lots of recovery organizations. And we sat down as a family, me, my husband, my mom, and I just said, I need all of us to sing from the same hymn sheet. Mm-hmm. You know, we all have to be in this together. So whatever it takes. So my mom started going to Naranon and Al-Anon meetings. Yeah. You know, Nana rocking along.
Nana is
so cool, I swear.
Nana is the bee's knees, man. Like
yeah.
We call her the gangster granny.
Gangster granny.
I got mad respect for Nana.
Nana with her 24 hours a day meditation book under her arm.
Stop it. Where is she? Is Nana around? I want to meet her.
She's probably asleep.
I know. Yeah. So cool though. Like my Nana's like my BFF, y'all. Yeah. Like
I have to have you wake her old ass up and get her on here.
Yeah, wake her old ass up. Go get her.
You know. But we sat down at a table and I said, look, we all have to agree that we can set these boundaries, and I need you to support me if I'm the one setting the boundaries. So that means, Nana, you can't go giving her $100
because mom wears the pants.
You can't go pay her rent, you know. And she's like, oh, but my sweet granddaughter. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, we'll be burying her if we do not do something, you know. And so we sat down and I said, setting a healthy boundary means we have to live with every possible consequence or outcome of this. And that means if she chooses to go back to Dallas and chooses to use, and she ends up beaten up again, if she ends up overdosing, if she ends up dead, they are all real possible outcomes. I said, but what we have been doing cannot continue because we are not helping, you know. And so that day when she was a bit well, I said, right, your choice is you can either go to treatment right now, I will take you to a women's shelter and a safe house, or you can do whatever you choose to do. And she said, well, I don't have a problem, so I'm not going to treatment. And I can't get into my old flat, so I can't get in the apartment, so I can't go back there. So I guess you're going to force me to go to a safe house. And I said, well, okay, if you made that choice, I'm not forcing you, you know. And drove her to the sheriff's department and met somebody from a domestic violence safe house in the parking lot. Mm. And she says to me, she said in a story she told, that my mom was standing firm when she hugged me.
I feel like, so the thing was just like, I didn't think she was actually serious. She's like, we're going to go, I'm dropping you off. And I'm like thinking she's not actually going to do this. She's just trying to scare me. Like she's not actually going to drop me off. Right. Yeah. You know, like she's not actually. And then like we got out of the car and then like she gave me a hug and I was like, shit, like her body is firm, like she is really standing.
Yeah, you knew at that point.
like I was just like, oh fuck, like she's serious this time, you know.
Yeah. And it was really weird because I felt the complete opposite. I did not feel firm. I was falling apart inside. And the bit she didn't know is once she got in that car to go to the safe house, my husband and I drove around the corner and I broke down into the most heart-wrenching, gut-throbbing sobs.
God.
You know, I just was devastated. And I just thought, I have to follow through. I wanted to go grab her out of that car and take her home, put her under a nice gray fuzzy blanket in Nana's bed, and just, you know, we'll figure it out. But I knew I couldn't. So, you know, she saw me as being really firm and solid in my decision. And I was just broken inside. Mm. And it's like, yeah.
So it's really bugging me out how similar Callise's story and mine is. Like, it's wild. Like, my mom literally flew. So I live like right outside of Washington, D.C. And I got sober at an inpatient in Florida. And my mom, like, even though I had admitted or, you know, agreed to go, it was either that or go to federal prison because I had money. She was like, I'm flying you down there because she thought I would run. She was right, you know, but like I thought like she did. Like I thought there's no way she's gonna go through with this. And I mean, the flight is like 6:30 in the morning. I'm in full blown withdrawal. And like I barely remember a lot of it. I remember we hadn't even pulled away from the gate and I grabbed the flight attendant's arm and I need alcohol. And she goes,
Need alcohol.
She goes, ma'am, we aren't even on the runway yet. And I said, when you just have no shame left. And I said, look at me, I'm going to rehab. And she goes, I'll be to you as soon as we get off the ground. God bless.
That's so awesome.
But you know what? Talking about like jail and stuff, like I am really, really grateful. Like somebody who actually set me down and talked to me about recovery was my lawyer. And like, she is the most amazing, y'all. She is like, her name's Mimi Coffee. In Dallas, there's a billboard of her and she has like a cowboy hat on and a cigar hanging out of her mouth and she's all propped up. And I was like, that's a boss ass bitch. Like, I want her to be my lawyer, Yes.
What does the sign say?
And she's like, DWIs at night, coffee in the morning.
Wow, dude.
That's right.
Like,
that is definitely a bad bitch. Like that.
Right with a cigar and a cowboy hat. I was like, yes, that's the one. And like she had set me down and she like really talked to me about like, Calliese, this is where you're at now. This is what's going to happen if you keep going on the way that you're going. And like, that was like eye-opening to me to have a lawyer sit down and talk to me about recovery and addiction. And then even like, I was looking at like a 2-year sentence before I moved to England, but she told the judge, she said, look, like, please like let her move to England with her family to get a fresh start. And the judge said, okay, like I'll let you go, but I don't want to see you in my courtroom again. And I'm like, I was looking at like, how did that happen? That is amazing.
Yeah, we're very blessed.
The judge or the lawyer and just say thank you.
Oh yeah, we talked to her.
Yeah, like she sent me a text like a couple weeks ago and she was like, I'm so proud of you. Like you
that's so cool.
I love Mimi. She's so sweet.
And I mean, I sent her an email and she messaged me and says, how are y'all doing? And
for her to see me at that place and then see us and what we're doing now, she's like, that's like crazy,
That's like, incredible.
I
would always write a letter or I would call on my anniversary back to the treatment center I went to, and unfortunately not there anymore. But I think that means so much, like in a where there are a lot of stories of not success. I said that where there is so many sad tales of our brothers and sisters that don't make it, and the folks that are in this business, clinicians, peers, clinical staff, admin, who are so undervalued, underpaid, underappreciated, and are in that fight for one reason or another. I think it's so important to let them know when their efforts are impactful matters.
Oh yeah. I mean, the rehab that I went to, I talked to all of them as well. And I'm like, we love y'all, mom messages the CEO. Like, it's like we just have a really great relationship.
Yeah. I wish I knew where some of the techs and stuff, like the peers that were at my treatment center, I wish I knew their last names. Like there was this one lady there. She was an older lady. She was so cool. Miss Linda. She literally sounded like she had been smoking 10 packs of menthols in her entire life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she had like more sober time than it felt like hundreds of years. You know what I mean? And she was just the nicest, rough lady, and I constantly gravitated to her. Yeah, like, how do you do this? How do you do that? I remember I got sober in like fall and I remember coming to her and being like, Miss Linda, I'm freaked out about going to the beach in the summer. Like, how am I going to stay sober at the beach? And she goes, who knows if you'll even be alive then?
You're like, yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't, like, it like flew right over my head. She's like, darling, you got to learn to live one day at a time. You're tripping out about something that's 8 months down the road.
Oh, that's what
it was incredible. incredible. And Joanna and I talk about this sometimes too, like the people that get to come into our lives when we're like on this side of the journey now, like when you're like in recovery, like the people that you meet, and you know, it's just doing this podcast. I tell Joanna all the time, it is changing my life.
Yeah. I think about some of the people I have met through this journey. And so like there's an amazing lady, her name is Paige. And when I met her, I'd met her at a support group for families because she was in the same situation I was. And her and her friends were just setting up a charity in Texas. And they made beautiful mosaic hearts. Okay. And the concept started where they made a mosaic heart and so one person grouted it, one person designed it, somebody else polished it. So in total, many hands touched it. And they were a Christian organization, so they all prayed over it during that process. And the concept was when somebody attempted suicide in a hospital, they took these hearts to the hospital to be given to somebody so they knew that people were thinking of them. And there was a heart. And it was about finding beauty in the brokenness. So with the mosaics, you know.
And all of the plates and stuff that they used to make these hearts came from like houses of domestic violence.
Hurricanes, all kinds of
stuff.
stuff.
Like all sorts of stuff.
So I met her at a meeting. She then asked me to go and help facilitate some meetings between their charity team leaders because I kind of had a business background. So I got involved. I then made some hearts at a workshop with them. She has become my avid friend. She sends me hearts to England so I can give them to people here who need them. So some of those hearts have now been flown from Texas to England. And I recently shipped one to New Zealand.
Did you send it to Ireland?
You know, and it's just, but we are on this journey and we connected at a meeting and we have become lifelong friends. And now she has a blossoming, 501, 503, whatever y'all are, charity things. And yeah. But they are now a hub for mental health and wellness and substance abuse in that community. And it's just flipping great, you know?
Yeah. Where is it? It's in Texas?
Yeah. It's
called Mosaics of Mercy.
Mosaics of Mercy. I need to look.
Go check it out. They do.
I was thinking the same thing.
It's beautiful.
And connect with them because they do some workshops and stuff, and you can. It's amazing. But yeah, and that just meant a lot to me. Finding beauty in the brokenness at that time in my life, where I did not plan on raising a grandson, you know, or being anything like that. You know, all my friends are becoming empty nesters. My nest got flipping full. What's it in? My nest is overflowing, you know, and it was just, but that was to me is finding beauty in the brokenness, you know?
Well, and can you imagine it any other way right now?
No.
She'd be bored without me. Come on.
My life would be so quiet. But you know what? Even my husband and I talked about this. And prior to everything happening, we had become complacent. It was him and I. We both had decent jobs. We could afford to have a few nice holidays. We went to see his family in New Zealand and my family in Texas. But there were no goals, no aspirations. It was just a pretty good life that was okay, you know? And then this happened and it went like a fucking bomb exploded. Everything got thrown apart and chaotic. But through that process of rebuilding, you know, it's just been amazing. And no, I wouldn't have it any other way. Because when I wake up in the morning and get my grandson out of bed, that hug that I get in that moment with his sleepy eyes is just priceless. And I want to get it for as long as I can.
Yeah. So wait, so your mom is Nena. So what are you?
I'm Babes.
Yeah, she's my son calls her Babes. Do you realize like whenever he's like 21 years old and he's at a grocery store with my mom and he's like, yeah, Babes, like what that's gonna look like?
You know what? Good for your mom.
Yeah, I decided I was too young to call Nana, Grandma, any of that. My husband called me Babes. And so he picked up on it and he just started going, hey, Babes. Yeah. Hey, Babes. And for a while, I thought I was going to be Hey Babes, but then we did get rid of the Hey. You know?
Hey, babe.
I did.
Yeah.
I thought
That's
I was
awesome.
going to be Hey Babes. All
I
more.
love that.
They're like, she's the boss lady, the babes, you know, like all of them.
My Uncle John, his wife, they were married previously and then later in life got married. So they each have like, kids and grandkids. And my aunt's grandkids were younger than his. And when they would hear my Aunt Teresa call him, the little term and dear, she always called him Toots. So now everybody calls him Toots.
Oh,
And he's 70-year-old, Italian man who I spent half my life terrified of. You know what I mean?
I'm going to be a hot grandma at 75. Hey, babes. Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to like all the things, right? And I'm picking up like there's significant emotional capital, right? Like you guys have that. Like I can feel that, that the emotional fitness, and you've got some serious social capital. Like I'm sitting here like watching you guys, listening to you guys, and I'm thinking to myself like, so my mom did the exact same thing for me, except for back then we didn't have rehab. I mean, like that was not an option, and at 16 they were like, you're out of here, you're going to graduate high school, you got 2 weeks and you're gone, and it was always just one of those things like, yep, well, that's just the way it was. And they stuck to that, like all through my recovery. Like they just stuck to that, they stuck to that through my, like through my addiction, and those are the things that like forced me to be an adult. They forced me to like figure this out, and it never dawned on me like they were, my mother and my father both were just like, sorry guys, my mother and my father both were just like holding fast because they were like, I love you, I believe in you, and I have faith in something. And I hear that, like, so like you've got spiritual capital, like faith in something. Like you haven't described what that is, but I know that you have faith in that, right? And like it's making me think too, like that was the thing that my parents did for my sobriety, right? And I mean, part of the reason that Amy and I, and correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the reason Amy and I like do so well on this podcast, that like we have this camaraderie, is because we're both gay, so we both get the whole conversation, right? So like I'm having an epiphany, and I think I'm displaying my own recovery capital. It's like my parents, like they kicked me out when I was 16 and 18, right? They held fast even in my recovery, but I had come out in the middle of a blackout when I was using, and so like they disowned me at that point. And my mom, when I was about 3 years sober, was like, I'm not willing to lose my daughter over this, not willing to lose my kid over this.
Wow.
And I never thought about like what you had said about this was a decision that you had to be certain that you were willing to face the consequences, and my mom died 3 weeks ago. So that's I'm like, that's probably why I'm having this epiphany, because like even though we had a relationship, I was still like very much keeping her at an arm's length, and that's the price that she paid. And that's the price that I paid. Like we both paid that price. And I don't know that I would take it back. I don't know that she would take it back either, because we both grew as like individuals. But and again, family recovery was not a possibility. When I got sober, it was, definitely not something that anyone would ever think to do, as someone who like, LGBT, like, I mean, we're still even fighting about whether or not we are equal citizens in the country, whether or not, like, if we leave our country, if just someone will kill us just because they don't like us, you know, like, we're still dealing with that. So, like, that's not even a conversation that, like, we could have had, you know? So to watch your family have this moment, you know, like, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt how much my mother loved me.
Yeah.
And how much I love my mom, you know? And the healing that I see like taking place in your family that you guys are talking about, like that's the recovery capital that like we really need, you know? Like what you guys have, what you guys are talking about, like that is like amazing to me.
Yeah.
I think too. Well, I was just gonna say, like, whenever I moved to England, y'all have to think like I've never lived in England before. I'd never lived with my mom before. I didn't know, this was like a whole new thing. And I remember after a couple months, like I'd stayed with a friend and I would just mom was in the bath and I just said, Mom, can I talk to you? And she's like, yeah. And I just bawled and I was like, I just want us to be better. Like it was uncomfortable. You're like living in this house. It was like walking on eggshells. And she said, Calliese, when you start to put work in and like start to make changes and participate in this house and like want to be a part of, like things will start to change. And that's where that conversation is like what changed our relationship, because it was like, okay, instead of me just being like a stranger in this house, I started to say like, hey Mom, how's your day? She had to go take a trip to London and I wrote her a note like saying, like, because I was like going to work, like, I hope you have safe travels, like be safe.
I still have that Post-it note
because it was like the first time I did like
awesome.
a selfless act and I like put effort into that relationship, but like it takes two to tango.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, yes, things are good now. It's not perfect, but it was really hard, so like even the early days when she was in rehab and she'd call, and I had somebody who supported me and they said, pretend your mobile phone is one of those in the 70s and it's attached to the kitchen wall. You're only allowed to talk to her in the kitchen. So if you're not near the kitchen, you can't answer it, And so she rang like 27 times in a row one morning.
Naturally.
And this was a morning where kind of in the middle of figuring out how to raise a 3.5-year-old at the time, I kind of forgot I was supposed to go to a bouncy castle party. I'd forgot to buy the gift. I was at Walmart. I got home and 27 messages because my phone's attached to the kitchen wall now, and I called her and she was like, why are you answering my call? I need some sweatpants and cigarettes. Blah, 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 blah. And I said, I've been at Walmart buying a gift and now I am off to slide down a bouncy castle slide at my age. I don't know if my knees are going to make it. I really don't have time for this. You're in a safe place. Goodbye.
I love how you ended it.
That was it. And like when we came back to England, it was tough. I mean, we're going to get really real here with the language. Calliese in the backyard. Okay. And I went grocery shopping and I bought generic Coca-Cola. God forbid. Okay.
And I'm like, I've quit drugs for you. I've quit drinking for you. I've moved countries for you, and you can't even buy me real Coca-Cola. This is me.
Like that's entitled, man.
Okay. Yeah. She proceeded to tell me to go suck several things as well.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
My mom would have slapped my mouth.
So in the scheme of, like we talk about, things happening for a reason, having faith that will work out. One of my friends who I hadn't seen for a while called me and said, I'm running this new workshop. Come along, I'll give you a free seat. I said, I didn't care what it was. I was leaving the house. I was excited.
I'm Felicia.
And at the end of that, I didn't realize she had a daughter in a similar situation. And she gave me a tip, and it has been the best tip I ever got. And I give it to everybody who's looking at family recovery.
It's regularly used in our house now. It's like a trending statement.
Yeah. So she said, when Calliese wants to argue with you, just say, let her have her say. So, i.e., here's an example. Calliese comes home from work. I hate my effing blending job. It sucks, da-da-da. They're all twats. I said, great. I said, that's less than ideal. And that was the statement.
That's less than ideal.
Okay. When she wanted an argument, that was my answer. To avoid giving her the silent treatment and not arguing, that was my answer. because it doesn't perpetuate an argument. So all the time, Mom, you're not doing that for me. That's less than ideal. Everything.
You can't argue with that. Like, what do you say to that right there?
Yeah.
You are validating the comment. You are acknowledging it, giving it space, but you are not feeding into it.
And now, like, everybody says it. Like my son, Parker, get off the PlayStation. Well, that's less than ideal, Mom. Eat your dinner. Well, that's less than ideal.
That has literally become a recovery phrase in our house.
Yeah.
So I would say to anybody who's going through early recovery with a loved one, just practice that lovely statement. It's less than ideal. It works great. Even just practice it amongst yourselves. So the next time Johanna calls Amy, and Johanna says, Amy, can you do this? Go, God, that's less than ideal. And see what happens.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna have to store that one away. That's good.
I know. I'm thinking about that right now. I'm like, I should have said that to myself earlier today. That's less than I do.
Yeah.
I gotta give a little credit to my buddy here. I'm super proud of you, dude. Like, talking about your mom today.
My mom loved me so much.
I
She was
know.
so proud of me.
And I'm so glad that you know that and you like believe that, that's huge. But I'm really proud of you for like talking about it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that part of you with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joanna is really good at leading people to being vulnerable in a safe place. She does that every day for a lot of people. So see her share that part of herself, I would like to applaud that.
I think round of applause.
Yeah, that was legit, dude. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So family recovery ain't always easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. The only thing that my mom and I never got to do was to share our feelings with each other. I mean, like, we would have that, like, I would call her on Sundays, which actually was Mondays, like, what are you doing? We would just like listen to her.
Yeah.
But we never like talked about feelings. So how do you guys, probably because like, I don't think she realized that it mattered. Like, how do you guys talk about your feelings? Because I think that's important.
I think too, like, I mean, we do recovery coaching. So, like, we do all of this work in recovery coaching. We also work together and everything. I think we use like, I feel, Mom, I feel this. And we kind of use those coaching tools. Like, I hear you say, you feel, but
I'd say sometimes it does get really emotive.
And especially with us working together too, because, whenever we're working, we need to be professional and we need to remember what we're doing and take the mom and the feelings out sometimes. And that can be kind of hard as well.
Yeah.
I think, for us, it's been a lot of, I think the feelings are about, you said something, Joanna, that really stuck with me a minute ago. And the situation that you were in, it forced you to adult.
Yeah.
It forced you to do that. And partly that's one of the things that maybe I regret a bit is I enabled an awful lot. And so I didn't force to adult, and I think, did I mess up and not give some of the life lessons that I should have? So then kind of when Calliese doesn't adult sometimes and I'm going, God, why don't you, lock the summer house, close the fridge, I don't know, whatever it is. But then I kind of go, Naetha, did you bring this on yourself? I
think too, we always like, if something does like rise, we have this thing where we're like, will this matter in 5 years? Like, if it's an argument, if it's, will this really matter in 5 years? Like, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
Always my sponsor. I love her, man. She's such a she's the tiniest little human, and she is just one woman. And she always, because I tend to stick my foot right in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, think is the best acronym. I want you to stop and think. And so she always has me like, review it. So I run through my head super quick, right? Timing, is it honest? Is it intelligent? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And I can't check all that off, then I better just shut up because, and thank God, because it has saved me from, being reactive. And, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like my being reactive was a huge character defect that came out even harder after I got clean. It ran rampant. And I had to really learn how to think and dial that stuff back. And, I respect what you're saying about, could you have done this XYZ, but, from your side of it, you did the best you could with what you had in front of you. And if your journey looked different, then her journey would look different.
And we probably wouldn't be where we are today either.
No.
Right.
But I mean, I've learned that I can step away from a conversation. We are, as much as some days we don't want to admit it, we are very much alike.
And we have codependency, let's be honest, Mom. We have a lot of codependency. I'm like, my codependency's flaring up. What's going on, Mom?
But it's just learning to step away from a conversation and acknowledging that often what needs to be said doesn't have to be said right now.
Yeah.
That was really good for me. That was just, and it's hard sometimes because I can see, sometimes Calliese is like, but I want to finish this conversation. And in my head, I'm going, I do too, but I'm going, actually, I'm not in the right frame now that this is going to go wrong. So let me step away.
I think too, you talking about your sponsor, Amy, anytime we're in a piff, where we're
a piff. Is that what you call it?
I guess a little tackle, a rumble. Whenever I was in early recovery, my sponsor, I couldn't find a sponsor here in England. So my sponsor is in Texas. And I was bitching about Mom, something, right? And she's on the phone with me. She says, "You ungrateful piece of shit." And I'm like, what? And she's like, "You need to really put yourself in check, and think about what is going on, all of it." And so every time we're in a rumble, I'm I'm being an ungrateful piece of shit right now, But that just I will never forget those words. I'm outside on the phone. I'm like, did she just say that?
Yeah, rude. Yeah,
rude. Yeah, how dare my sponsor agree with my mother? Jesus Christ,
that's
not supposed to happen. Isn't that in one of those rule number 763? Never agree with
that's
mother.
Yeah, correct.
But I'll never forget it now. You know what I mean? At that time, I was like, "What the?" But now
I'm proud of you though, Calliese, for not being so listen, I'm gonna need to get a new sponsor now.
I love her.
This isn't really working out.
I love her. You know what? Honestly, I love her. She's I'd like to think of her as a feisty pit bull. She just doesn't take anything. She just slams my ass over and over. And I'm that's what I need. That's what I need. Yeah. I'm okay, come on. Let's go.
Yeah, and thank God for her. And you know what? Just for viewers, listeners, whatever, even outside of 12-step recovery, the other pathways that there are to recovery, whatever it is that you choose, one of the things that I love and respect about so many of the different pathways is that it really encourages us to have whatever we need to have around us that promote checks and balances. And for me, sponsorship and just other sober people that I can actually be open and honest with is huge. I have to have that because I'm sure you feel similarly. If it's just me up in there,
I don't have my certificate, but there's still a little nut rattling somewhere.
God bless you. You got a certificate. Ain't nobody getting me a certificate.
Rag in there.
Yeah.
I tell you, that certificate didn't arrive for a reason, y'all.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Okay, wait. So we have two final questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna I'll take the boring. Well, it's not boring. The less linguistic question. I'll take that one. Joanna, you take the deep, meaningful question.
The deep, meaningful question. That's so awesome.
What kind of tacos we like?
No pressure.
Yes. Tacos. We're raising the bar there, man. So the question is, well, before we get into the question, I just want to say thank you for having this conversation with us.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Like,
you guys are
this is-
freaking
Just want to do
awesome.
it every, like, once a week. We'll just sit and have coffee with y'all and chat, you know?
We're down.
I'm totally down with that.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The question is that in 20 years, when you guys are like sitting back, kicking it, doing your thing, like relaxing, what do you hope is the legacy that you're leaving right now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
So I guess for me, I think kind of when I think about why I started this and why we got involved with recovery coaching and why we kind of started this, it was about we just wanted to make recovery coaching a word that just was normalized in England. So in 20 years, if I go to a Starbucks and I'm sitting there and somebody at the table behind me mentions the word recovery coaching,
It's a good day.
that's a good day.
Yeah.
You know, that is a really good day. And the other thing is just if one mama is able to stand by their kid
Yeah.
and get them through to the other side, then that's a good day. You know? And if I could like have a villa in Greece to go visit for a month out of the year, that'd be a good day too. So yeah.
I think that's really good. That's pretty
Yeah.
similar to me. I think too, like I think about like my son, like I'd want him to feel confident in who he is and be strong and like acceptance and like I just think about like my childhood and like I would want him to be like a strong young man. You know?
Oh, and 20 years, like Calliese is like the director in waiting to Recovery Coach Academy.
She
So
keeps saying she's ready to retire.
I'll be
like,
retired.
Absolutely.
Calliese will be paying me dividends, and I'll be sitting at that Greek villa, and she will be here running the whole show with a team of recovery coaches spreading the good news.
You know what though? Like
And maybe Parker will be the director in training.
He's already told. We tried to get him on training. He goes, "Babes, I'm going to be a paleontologist astronaut. I am not going to be a recovery coach."
I do think though too, like I've always said that, when we talk to people, they're like, don't you just want to have that cushy job and just like be the CEO? I'm like, that's not where my heart is. Like, I love being in the stuck. I want to be talking to people. I want to be training. I want to be having conversations. And I think that I will always be doing that.
Me too. Yeah.
So,
I love that. That's very fitting for what I now know about you as strong women living your truth, doing your thing, and trying to raise awareness over there. So that's amazing. So in that vein, our final question is for support, for just following you. How can people get a hold of you?
Oh, Calliese, over to
So
you.
we are on all social media platforms. We are trying to work on Pinterest, but we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and you can just look up Recovery Coach Academy. It's
UK?
No, so
just Recovery Coach Academy, where our little logo's right there, cute little colorful trees growing, and we have our website, which is recoverycoachacademy.co.uk. And
Facebook is Facebook/Recovery Coach Academy. Instagram
is Recovery Coach Academy.
There wasn't a desperate need for loads of people in England to use, Recovery Coach Academy as a website or anything. See, so we're so glad we got it.
Yeah, exactly.
First one to the table.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. So please, we'd love to. We just like to have recovery ready conversations around the world.
I think we just like to talk too. As well, let's be honest. We're talkers. Like,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Conversation with anybody.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have Jen and Amy. Right. We're missing a coffee date. Hurry up. Jump on Zoom. Let's talk. Talk some recovery.
Talk some crap. Talk some recovery.
Maybe that could be crap, coffee, and recovery. Ooh.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. High tea, absolutely.
Oh yeah, afternoon teas with scones and crumpets.
Yes, tea, and actually tea is like actual tea, and then tea is like the gossip.
Yeah.
So good times.
Double tea.
Yeah. Hello. I think think you just found yourself a new hashtag, my friend. Okay.
Oh, Amy, I'm worried if you and Calliese actually get together in a room in England. It could be bad for us, girl.
Yeah, I like it. I'm all for it, honestly. Rip that shit apart.
Come on over. Yeah, just remember, some people in England are reserved.
Oh, that's what my Nana says.
That's why I bring Joanna.
They're not rude.
Are you saying I'm reserved?
Well, you're a little more polished sometimes than I am. That one of us
That's
has
what
to
you should
be.
call me. She says I'm a little bit corporate. I think I should just be a little bit polished.
Yes, go with polished. It sounds better.
I'm polished.
Yeah. I'm very glad you said that because I often think of myself as corporate as well. So the fact that she's like, "Yeah, you're just a little polished."
No, but you're just polished.
Yeah.
You know.
See, do you think Johanna's corporate?
No, but I
But I'm your
don't
mama.
know you as much as like I see mom. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
No, it's
I have
totally
to see
different.
how you work.
I want to thank you both.
It's good to have. It's good to come at it from different sides, right? Like you guys have different like sides of your personality, like complement each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the secret to your success, honestly.
I think that's.
I want to thank both of you for
thank
taking
y'all.
2 hours out of your life,
Yeah.
you know, and having a chat to us and just making us feel so welcome and
It's
so
it's been
comfortable.
so nice.
And just
It's like-
you also inspire us
Yeah.
to keep doing what we're doing because we see you doing it.
Yeah,
every day.
you say you've been stalking us. We've been stalking you.
Yeah,
We're
watch
creeping
out.
in the corner.
Well, we're just
Joe,
we're
you're
just
coming to
keeping-
England next time on Zoom.
Oh yeah.
You're coming our way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm so down for that.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm gonna book a date in the diary next week. Y'all are in it.
Nice.
Don't sound like the president.
Absolutely. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure talking to you. Enjoy your weekends.
Yes, we will.
The good work. We'll try to do ours on our end.
Super. Thanks, y'all.
Guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.